Welcome to University, a podcast for young people navigating life's big transitions. I'm Emery Bergmann, your host. On University, you'll hear stories from college students, you'll get tips from experts, and occasionally you'll hear from a parent's perspective on how to manage this time of change in your life consciously. Find yourself, find your purpose, find your people, and pursue you fearlessly. If you just started school, or maybe a new job, moved apartments, moved cities, if there's something new going on in your life and you're rebuilding your community and having to make new friends, you want to listen to this episode. I'd like to reintroduce you to Emery Bergmann this month with a few mini podcasts that focus on particular issues that you might be facing or dealing with in this now moment. Remember back to episode 3, Emery Bergmann created a video that went viral, talking about her college transition and how lonely it felt, and how difficult it was to rebuild community. Be sure to listen to the full episode when you have time. But today, we pulled a short clip for you where she talks about making friends and the fears and struggles that come along with rebuilding community, finding friendships and authentic relationships that really matter. We picked this episode up as Emery's talking about the town she came from and how it was hard to let go of her hometown friendships and dive into college ones.
My town, I come from a really fantastic town, and
Do you mind saying?
Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay.
So I grew up in New York City, and then in 8th grade I moved to Jersey. And so that was like a weird transition in itself. But my high school experience, I joined like the crew team. Like I rode all through high school. So I had a really crazy community just within this crew team itself. But the relationships that I made in Montclair was just really like no other. Like that town is just really, really cool and individual, and I think a lot of kids from Montclair had issues when they went to college because I know all the kids who are from Montclair are just so close with their friends, and I can't speak for everyone, but I just know like there's like this weird sense of humor that just comes with being from Montclair that I feel like other people can't resonate with when I go abroad.
Common, yeah.
Yeah, so that was, I think, leaving my town was just like so immensely hard because like the people from there are just like so individual, and a lot of the things that they found interesting just couldn't really be measured up in that sense, or like just like they didn't really get like my humor, or they didn't really understand, the stuff that we think was funny was definitely not funny to the people I met at school. So that was like a weird new experience. But I think what I just came to figure out was that the people I meet will play a different role in my life, and that's completely okay. Yeah, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, one of the things I'm talking to my kids about, because my kids have been at the same school since they were 3. So they went preschool.
That's crazy.
Lower school, elementary school, high school.
That's so intense, yeah.
It's so intense. So they have these friendships that they've had friends since they were 3 years old.
Yeah.
And they basically haven't had to make new friends and get out there. My son did a gap year like your roommate. And he speaks to like one of his most amazing experiences the past year was he had to go make new friends every 12 weeks where he was going.
That's crazy, yeah.
It was scary and terrifying and simultaneously really fun and cool. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time in your life that you have to go out and make new friends. Like 4 years, you had these people. And one of the things I like to remind students of is it takes time to develop those deep roots. And like literally just time, and you've got class and activities and other obligations and things. So there's only so much time to invest in getting to know people.
Yeah, and I think that was another thing that I learned while I was making that video is that I think especially after I published it, I got really close with people, or not really close, but substantially closer with kids that I had met at school. And I really just, what I recognized was the fact that it was just a thing of like time, that making friends is this process. It's not something that you can just, like, you won't, the idea that you'll just click with everybody is I feel like is a myth in this, but also like I feel like that initial click, like you can have that click with someone, but if you don't act upon it, if you don't, make it a effort to, see this person or to like make plans, then really that friendship's going to go nowhere. And I think that was another thing that I just had to come to terms with, is that like making friends is very active. It's not passive at all.
Love that.
And yeah, and I'm super.
In high school, it's like you go to school and you're in a sort of a contained group of people, and they stay together for the most part for 4 years, and you have classes together. So it's more contained, and you don't have to actively.
So contained in high school.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah, in college, everyone is so spread out. Like, when you meet people, you'll meet them in the most random situation, and then it's very possible you just won't see them again. In the sense that I'm lucky because my major, we have a lot of similar classes, so I will see these kids more often, and our studios are 3 hours long, so I'm with them for a long time. But in the sense of like people I see in and so people I meet in clubs or people I meet in my dorm, we could have completely different schedules, and I will only see them in passing. So that taking that initiative to be like, hey, let's get lunch on blah 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 at this time, and then like making that effort is kind of like annoying at first, but then you just realize that that's just the only way you're going to further these relationships. And so that's also like a weird thing to recognize, is that like you kind of have to be a little business-like about it at first, but it becomes like so organic.
That must be
so weird.
And scary, because it's kind of like asking someone out on a date.
Oh my god, totally.
What if they
that was like it's terrifying. And I hated it at first, and that was part of the reason, because I always feel like I'm always like getting in the way of someone's plans or something, or that I'm like being annoying or like clingy. But usually people do want to hang out, and it's just like no one is brave enough to just make that first like, hey, we should do this. And usually doing it in a group is like 10 out of 10. Like, that makes it so much easier, because you could just, if you have like a group chat with like a club or something, you can be like, hey, does anyone want to get lunch with me at this time here? And then X amount of people will reply, and then it becomes like that much more of like a group activity.
Yes.
And so that's like really helpful.
So taking the initiative, really, like, but again, all of this involves a lot of courage, I think.
Totally.
Initiative, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, being the one who's willing to be rejected. Because I think everyone's biggest fear is, what if they say no? What if they don't like me? What if they don't want to?
It's awful. Yeah, and it feels awful.
So you have to be willing to be rejected.
Yeah. And no one wants to be rejected. What? So it's a hard initial experience. And I also feel like taking advantage of the friendships that come organically, like people who you live with and people who you go to class with. I think those are great, because doing things in groups always makes it less scary. So like, if you can get close, if you find people in your dorm that you really do like, then that is like a great thing to have, because now you already have someone to have dinner with. Like, you can, I mean, it's a little scary, like maybe like going to like knock on their door and be like, hey, do you want to go eat? Can be totally frightening, like the first time you do it, or like just texting them being like, hey, let's get food, can be a little weird. But I mean, usually no one wants to eat alone. That's another myth I want to disprove. Eating alone is totally normal, because making your schedule like based on other people is like can be really annoying sometimes. So if you end up having to eat alone just because your schedule doesn't allow you to like get food with other people, so be it. In the long run, no one cares. So that's like one myth that I always want to like tell kids, like, nobody cares about. It feels like lonely to you
when you're sitting there eating.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm sure it was.
Oh, yeah.
Is everyone just sitting there on their phones, eating alone on their phones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. But like there's times like especially during finals that I had to eat at like weird times.
Right.
Because I'd be like in studio and I'd have to do hours XX here. So like I'd be like, okay, I'm getting dinner at 9 or I'm getting dinner at like 5:30, and then people will be like, oh wait, but I want to get dinner at 7:30. So I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna go eat by myself. So like having that, like it just got to a point where I was just like, I don't care. This is gonna be too much work to just, go out of my way and like find people to eat with. So that was something that I just had to just like get off like that weirdness, just get over it, because sometimes it's just inconvenient.
Yeah, I
But
love that you talk about that, because who thinks about that? Like,
yeah, no, everyone hates eating alone. I have friends who are like, I would never be caught dead eating by myself. But like, who cares? Like, it's like I'm a busy person. I don't always have time to just be dependent on other people for food, and especially if I'm just gonna eat and go. Like, really, it's not worth it. But
well, it sounds like your friends are the people like who are on the same exact schedule as you. Like
yeah. So when we have studio together, it's great because then we'll just be like, okay, I'm hungry, let's go, and then we eat and then we leave, and that's it.
Yeah. Built-in ease and flow.
Yeah. So taking advantage of like people in your classes is like super awesome, because then you have people who are on similar schedules with you and like kind of understand, like why you do the things you do. So I think that's really great. But it's also like you can't make friends in like lecture. It's not like super easy like that.
So that's the difference between going to a really big school or a small school, because how many lecture classes do you have and how many small? Sounds like as a fine arts major, you have studio time, so you're getting more time with people to really get to know them. Yeah.
And making art is like is a process based on communication. Like you make art with other people, and like you make your best art when you have other people's opinions, and when it's like an active conversation with your piece, which sounds weird, but and so like having other people in that process is super important. So like I have made really close friends just based on like people who like have come to critique my work, or people who have come to just give their opinion, and like I'm lucky in that sense that my classes require like a constant debate and conversation, whereas like a lot of other people, like especially kids who are in engineering, I know have just massive lectures, and that first like semester is just full of like these 300 person lecture halls where you literally are just there sitting with your computer taking notes, and that's just so impersonal. Like there you can't make any relationships that way, and you especially because you're just 1 in 300 there, and your professor doesn't really care, and all of your classes, like whenever you go to extra help, usually it's with like a TA, or like office hours is with a TA. So it just feels so alienating in that sense. So I'm lucky that I haven't really had that experience, but I know a lot of kids who just felt like, especially within their majors, they just don't know anyone.
It just takes time.
Yeah, and that's just really what ended up happening, was that like over time, like they would go to office hours where they'd like study with kids or be put into groups with kids, and like from there they made a lot of really good relationships with people just based in like an academic sense. And that was just like something that happened over the semesters, and you just have to be like conscious that like organically it will happen, but also taking that initiative is important.
Yeah, it's a combination of trusting that it'll happen and taking initiative at the same time, not just like letting everything happen. So
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, have you found your posse yet?
Okay, it's like complicated, I think. I found a lot. So I got really close with a bunch of kids in my dorm. So I have a bunch of really close guy friends from my dorm who like introduced me like to their frats, and they really both like their fraternities, and all the guys there have like super similar senses of humor to me. So like that was like a really random experience that I found out, that was so organic. Like I had no idea that was going to happen. And then I got really close with a bunch of girls in my dorm as well. And we all ended up joining different sororities, but the people that, like, we ended up, like, overlapping friends. And so I think, I don't know if I've necessarily found, like, my people, so to speak, but I've found, like, relationships that I really do value and people who are, like, important to me and that, like, I'm excited to go back to see. The Greek life is, like, a whole nother thing. And then...
Yeah, I would love to, I mean, we're going to definitely be splitting our call up into a couple different podcasts because we have so much valuable information.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
And you'll have to tune in over the next couple of weeks to hear a little bit more about what Emery has to say about Greek life and roommates. Super insightful, especially for those who are pledging or thinking about pledging. Okay, look, if you're in the beginning of your college life, or if you've just graduated and you're starting life after college, just remember that making friends, finding your people, building your community takes time, and it's an active process. And like Emery, you'll need a few key ingredients like courage and willingness and a sprinkle of effort putting yourself out there every single day. But don't forget to cut yourself a ton of slack along the way. I didn't say let yourself off the hook, but go easy on yourself. Everyone is in the same boat, whether it looks like that or not on social media. And everyone is simply doing the best they can in every moment. Give yourself and others the benefit of the doubt. Trust your gut. Work hard. And definitely keep your eye on your big goals. I have complete faith in you, and I hope you do too. So you'll definitely have to tune in over the next few weeks to hear some mini casts with Emery. What she has to say about roommates and Greek life is coming up. You're really going to enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for listening to University. If you liked what you heard, I'd be absolutely thrilled for you to share with a friend, and equally grateful for you to pop over and rate and review on iTunes. It really helps. You can find more information and stay in touch over at university.u on Instagram or at University on Facebook. I'll look forward to seeing you there. For more information, email me at annemarie.university@gmail.com or click the link in the show notes below.